Hello there, people of the internet. Boy, do I have a story for you guys today. Let me tell you about what my buddy has done. So, I have a buddy, and he's not really a gun guy, or at least he wasn't, and he recently, just due to like video games, pop culture, movies, and things like that, he's recently started looking at military surplus firearms. And hey, by all means, I mean, you missed the curve of really cheap stuff, but you can still get some pretty cool deals out there and get yourself some military surplus rifles and whatnot that don't necessarily break the bank. I mean, you're not going to get like an SVD or, you know, a G43 or something like that. If that's what you're wanting, then hey, good luck, hats off to you. But my buddy has started looking into military surplus firearms. Like I said before, he's not really a gun guy. He owns one rifle that is not a military surplus firearm. And that one rifle is an AR platform in 223-556. I mean, it's an excellent rifle. And there he goes. He has his one rifle. Well, guess what my buddy did? After having his one rifle, he decided, you know, hey, I have what I need for my defensive purposes, you know, defend life, liberty, and whatnot. Let's go ahead and buy a Mosin Nagant. And I'm like, all right, a Mosin Nagant is a pretty solid choice for a first military surplus rifle. This is a finished Mosin Nagant, 1891 refurbished. You guys have seen this on the channel, lacking a rear sight, but I still shoot things with it pretty fine out to about 100 yards or so. But he was like, all right, let's go ahead and get me a Mosin Nagant. So he ended up just getting like a refurbished 9130, nothing special. He paid about $450 for this rifle, which is about what they're going for nowadays. But he also did $50 for shipping, so $450 plus that $50, that's about $500 on this Mosin Nagant. But he's not exactly a poor guy, so he was able to spend that amount of money on a refinished 9130. I miss the days back when you could pick up one of those for like 80 bucks at a hardware store. But he got himself a Mosin Nagant for $500, and I'm like, man, that's awesome. Your first military surplus rifle. And I mean, you're new to the game, so you don't really know how to hunt for deals and whatnot. I could have got you the same exact thing for 300 bucks, maybe 350, depending on the condition, just with my resources and the places I know and things like that. But anyway, my buddy got a Mosin Nagant for 500 bucks, and he went out and bought himself, he wanted the full experience, he bought himself a spam can of ammunition, 440 rounds, and he paid $400 for that, plus I think like another $40 for shipping. So after taxes and whatnot, we'll call it roughly $1,000 or so for a Mosin Nagant 9130 and a bunch of ammunition to go along with it. But he didn't stop there. Oh no, he wanted the full experience. He wanted the military surplus experience. So he went out, got himself a bayonet, he got himself like the oil bottle, he got himself the sling and, you know, the little what are they? The dog collar leather hoops that wrap around the sling so you can actually hook them onto your rifle. He went out and got himself like the full accessories for the Mosin. He got himself like ammo pouches, and he got himself a bunch of stripper clips for the ammunition. He wanted the whole shebang, so he got himself a full loadout for his Mosin. I think all in all, he spent about 1,200 bucks on everything for his refurbished 9130. And I mean, if you have the money to do that and you feel like doing that, personally I would not. But if you feel like doing that, God, it's just $1,200 for a Mosin and some ammo and accessories. Oh, that hurts, because that's a pretty common price nowadays. If you want to go out and get yourself a Mosin, and you want to go out and get yourself like a brick of 500 rounds of ammunition, versus the $400 for like a spam can, if you get modern ammunition, you'd pick it up for about 300 bucks. But you're still talking about like around $1,000 for a full loadout with a Mosin. And that just hurts. But he went out and he got himself Mosin full loadout. And I was like, hell yeah, man, I bet you want to take that thing to the range and, you know, use it and whatnot. And he was like, hell yes, I do. So we spent like a full day. I think we were out there for like 9 hours just shooting things with his Mosin and blowing stuff up. We burned through like most of that 440 rounds of ammunition. I brought out one of my Mosins as well. It was a really good time. And don't get me wrong, it was one hell of a day. I don't know if it was $1,200 worth of day, but it was one hell of a day. But while we were talking and whatnot, he was, very happy with his setup for his Mosin. But I came to discover something. His AR platform rifle, let me go ahead and give a shout out to YouTube Reviewer, because I'm sure that they're watching. YouTube Reviewer, 20 round magazine, nice small mag, fully in compliance with community guidelines, and semi-automatic, not full, fully in compliance with YouTube's guidelines. Well, I found out my buddy had his AR platform at home, and I was like, hey, why don't you bring that thing along? And he was like, nah, I don't have, XYZ things for it. And we start talking. Turns out he has one mag for it. He has no other mags for it, no way to carry mags for it, no sling attachments or anything on the rifle, no sights on the rifle, no optic, his rifle at home was literally just like a bare stock AR platform with one single magazine. And I mean, whenever you have a rifle that doesn't have sights on it, I guess you could like point and shoot that thing and you'd be accurate out to probably about 30 yards, maybe if you're lucky, just volume of fire, you might hit your target. But my buddy, for his, defending life and liberty and family and my way of everything, my actual defensive rifle. This is not my defensive rifle, that's not what I'm saying. But my buddy's go-to firearm was not set up. The thing he would actually use if something went down and he had to grab something and say, all right, it's time to go. Let's find some work and get the job done. My buddy had that rifle not set up, but he just spent $1,200 setting up a 9130, and I was just like, what? Why? What the hell is wrong with you? What if something happens and you are in need? I gotta tighten this barrel band back down. What if something happens and you are in need of an actual capable rifle, and you don't even have the bare minimums for your AR platform at home? I mean, you have one hell of a Mosin Nagant setup at this point. But, I wanted to make this video and tell you guys this story. And just, if you are one of the people out there who gets a full setup for something that you're going to play with on the gun range, then hey, by all means, go ahead and do that. But make sure that your go-to equipment is also up and running. Like, don't go out and spend $1,200 on something that you're going to use for fun and not, have a fully capable setup for something that you would need to actually use in the event that you actually have to use it. Like, I would definitely prefer using this over Mosin. I mean, at that point, if I had a rifle with one single magazine and no sights on it or anything, I'd probably take the Mosin over like a bare stock AR platform, because I wouldn't be able to use the damn thing beyond just point shooting. I mean, God, I guess it depends on the situation. If I was inside of a house, and maybe if I was inside of a house, collapse our stock there, I could point my way through the house. Just at least get sights on that bad boy, and at least get yourself a couple of magazines with it. Just bare minimum requirements, my guy. Just, that made my skin crawl whenever we were talking, and that's what he told me. How he did not have a setup for his AR platform, and that's why he didn't bring it. But he just spent a tremendous amount of money on this Mosin Nagant that he picked up online. Alright, 5 rounds of ammunition out of my 20 round magazine, because I am a poor guy. You know what, it's not a Mosin, but I do have some 8mm Mauser rounds out here. And I mean, if it's a Mosin that we're talking about here, then hey, insert Mosin story here. But I mean, there's people out there who'll spend a lot of money on an 8mm Mauser, because that's also a very iconic surplus firearm. So they'll go out and spend a lot of money on an 8mm Mauser rifle and a bunch of accessories and whatnot. And the same category can go in right there. If you spend a lot of money on something like this, and you don't even have a defensive setup, then you might want to reconsider your priorities. Is that the word I'm looking for? You might want to reconsider your priorities as to what it is that you're thinking you should do. Now, if you are just going to use your bolt action for defensive purposes, then hey, you should have a full setup on it. I don't care what it is that you pick for defensive purposes, if it's bolt action, lever action, semi-automatic, whatever it is, just make sure that you have the proper equipment for it. Oh, and make sure that you know how to use it. Like, for example, this Car 98 right here, I know that it shoots low out to about 100 yards or so, so I actually adjust my rear sight up slightly. I guess it depends on the ammunition. This 154 grain Turkish stuff shoots about 6 inches low, so I know just to aim a little higher on the target. But I would not know that. God, this stuff kicks so hard. I would not know that if I had not taken this out to use it. And my buddy chose not to take out his AR platform because of his lack of accessories. Ow! Of his lack of accessories. I've been shooting guns all day, and this heavy metal butt pad has been beating the hell out of my shoulder. But his lack of accessories has stopped him from using that rifle. I don't know if he's ever actually used it, you know, if I'm talking real here. So we don't know if it would actually run in the event that something bad were to go down. And if something bad does go down, even if I give this man a pair of sights or something, they're not going to be zeroed in or anything like that. I stood the target back up. Well, may as well knock it back down. Wow, it's still standing. I was expecting that one to knock that bastard down. You know what? I have some 198 grains here. Let's put it around through my Turkish Mauser, because why not? This 198 grain ought to knock down that steel target. All right. That looks like a knockdown to me. It's like slouched over. That is good enough for my taste. Anyway, folks, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this one, because this is an interesting story. I feel like you should set up what you might need. Like, you should get a full setup on what you might need before you spend a whole lot of money on something that would be just for fun. Something that you would want. Now, granted, I did not follow this back in the day. I got myself a Mosin Nagant. Granted, they were like 80 bucks back in the day. And rather than get myself something more practical that I would use for an actual situation, I continue to just buy ammunition and accessories for my Mosin. So I'm guilty of that as well. But nowadays, I'm a little bit smarter than that. Not only that, but 80 bucks for this, and it was like not a lot of money for those spam cans of ammunition. It was, back then, it was not as big of a deal as it is nowadays. If he were to spend the amount of money, like old prices, on this stuff nowadays, he could have picked up that entire setup. Like spam cans, 60 bucks, Mosin, 80, all the accessories and whatnot, maybe another 20, like 250 bucks probably would have gotten him all of that stuff if this was like 2010, but it's not 2010, and his AR platform is not set up. Thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below. Link to all sorts of stuff. Go ahead and go check that out. You guys go off. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next video, and I'm excited to see what the comments have to say about it. Probably going to be at least one person down there talking about how they have accessories for their bolt-action rifle, and that is all they'll need to defend their life and liberty, because that was all that was needed up until about the 60s or so. God, the 60s. That was 60 years ago. Oh God. Oh God, we're getting old. Cars from the 90s can have antique tags on them. And there are people born after 9/11 that are old enough to drink. Bye, guys. I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.